Matthew, you write quite a lot about the post-liberalism, and I know you thought a lot about this. How do you respond to what John's just said?
Well, I wanted to just throw a caveat into what I said earlier, and say that I'm not obviously saying that racism has completely disappeared from the Western world. I'm saying that what we sometimes are inclined to do is compare our society to utopia, which does not exist. You know, I understand that in China there are television commercials where a black person is placed in a washing machine and they go through the washing process and come out Chinese. That is not something I hope that we would ever see in this country. Who are we comparing ourselves to? My point is that we have progressed and do much better than almost any other country on earth. And that is what the think tanks that I am aware of that have studied this in detail corroborate. But we do have a fundamental issue with some communities that I do think live detached from the main culture. And this is something I'm very interested in. I mentioned my Pakistani heritage, where groups of people from the Kashmir and other parts of Pakistan have moved here and have remained coherent, sequestered communities, partly because of the marriage practices, which turn out to be a highly significant institutional feature that drives the evolution of societies. And it's cousin marriage, people marrying within their group, within their clan, within their tribe. I mentioned that my father had married my mother. This is not a controversial point. This is true for all of you. But it was a bridge from my father's community to my mother's community. This country is highly unusual, along with much of the rest of Western Europe. In the 6th century, a quick bit of history here, Trevor, if you'll forgive me, Augustine of Canterbury came to Anglo-Saxon Kent and converted Ethelbert. Now, you'll remember that these islands were highly tribal at the time. They were characterized by fundamental divisions and mistrust. They were fighting with each other a lot. You remember the pre-Roman tribes, the Iceni and others. It wasn't a nation state. It was a geographical area where different groups contested the landmass. And then after the Romans, the Angles, the Saxons, and so on. But Ethelbert was converted to Christianity, and there was a ban on cousin marriage, which went up to 6 cousins by the 10th century. What did that do? It forced people to marry outside their tribes. It dissolved. Where did the tribes go? Where did the British tribes go? They were dissolved by intermarriage. We made love, not war. It wasn't like, for example, the Chinese, the Qin unification, the warring states period, where the different ethnicities duked it out and the Han ethnicity came on top. Almost all nation states have been created either by genocide, ethnic cleansing, or some other form of warfare. These islands in much of Western Europe were created in a different way. I know Germany was unified much later, but the basic clan allegiances, tribal allegiances were dissolved. What we're seeing in certain parts of this country are some communities marrying endogamously within that community. And I think the way to bring these people, and do you know who it's bad for? The patriarchs benefit from this, who control who marries whom and dominate these clans. They benefit from the cousin marriage. It's the people who are suppressed and repressed. If we had a ban on cousin marriage, outward marriage, I think that would make a fundamental difference to these communities and liberate them from the oppression that they're living under.